Welcome to the satellite based interactive program. This program has been started by GTU with the technical aid from BISEC. Today I am going to cover the next session of December 2011 paper. I am Mr. Paresh Moda, working as an assistant professor in ADIT, New Vallabh So in the last paper we have seen question number 1, 2 and 3. Question number 3A, B we have already solved. So we will directly start with question number 3C. So till now you might be getting the idea from the previous sessions that we have seen how to write down the answers of the numericals and of the theorem. So let us start with the question number 3C in the December 2011 GTU papers. I again advise to the students or viewers that please download the papers from the GTU website and then view it so that you can get the idea. And if you have any difficulty, then you can contact me through email. Okay, so question number 3C in this slide, it is shown that you have to derive the equation for the capacitor when the purely capacitive circuit is to be connected with a AC voltage source. The average power consumption will be always 0. So mathematically you have to derive that why the average power consumption will be 0. Right. So let us see that the power through the capacitor is, if you want to find out, then you should be knowing that power is V into I. Now as in the purely capacitive circuit, the current will lead the voltage by 90 degree, right? So what is the voltage of a sinusoidal voltage? It is V is equal to Vm sin omega t, right? And I is equal to Im sin omega t plus pi by 2. Now what is Im sin omega t plus pi by 2? It is cos omega t, right? So now you are having the two relation, that is again you are having the P is equal to Vm sin omega t into cos omega t. So sin omega t into cos omega t. So what you can apply? You can apply the trigonometry rules, and with the help of trigonometry rules you can easily solve the voltage or the power, average power consumption in a purely capacitive circuit is 0. So let us see this with the question. The question you might be seeing in your screen that this is the question paper, and we have seen up to this portion. Now we are started with the question number 3C. So question number 3C is that you have to prove that the average power consumption in a purely capacitive circuit is 0 and current leads the voltage by 90 degree. So this is a purely capacitive circuit. You can see that this is purely capacitive circuit, and instantaneous power P is equal to V into I, right? So P is equal to Vm sin omega t into Im sin omega t plus pi by 2. Now you can put the equations value and apply the trigonometry rules. You will get P is equal to 1/2 Vm Im sin 2 omega t. You can give the equation number 1, 2 and 3. Now power consumed by the purely capacitive circuit over a complete cycle, you can say P is equal to 1/2 Vm Im into 0 to 2 pi sin 2 omega t dt, where 0 to pi sin 2 omega t dt is 0. If you are doing the integration of 0 to pi with respect to sin 2 omega t dt, then it is 0. So you can say that P is equal to 0. Let us see with the waveform. See, in the waveform you can see that there is a voltage waveform, current waveform and power waveform, right? So obviously it can be seen that the current is leading compared to the voltage, right? Because it is started from the 0 position at time t is equal to 0, while the voltage waveform will be started after pi duration, right? So this is, you can say that the phase difference between these two is 90 degree centigrade, right? Now the question number 4B was a numerical that was asked from the AC fundamental chapter. In this numerical there are three expressions given to you, that is the instantaneous value of voltage in the three different coils are given, and these three coils are connected in series. So as you can see that they are connected in series, so voltage of first coil, voltage of second coil and voltage of the third coil will be same, or it is the product sum of the three coil. E1, that is the voltage in first coil, is V is equal to Vm sin omega t. So it is 50 sin omega t. While E2 is equal to 40 sin omega t plus 60. That is, it is having a phase difference of 60 degree. E3, that is voltage across third, or the third voltage is 60 sin omega t minus 30. You can consider that this may be a 3 different phase voltage. You have to find an expression for the resultant EMF or the resultant voltage of this when they are connected in series, right? So what is the algebraic sum of this? It is 50 plus 40 plus 60, that is, it will be 150 volt, right? But as you have studied that in the AC circuit you cannot do the algebraic sum. You have to apply the vector summation rule, and based on that you can find out what is the resultant voltage. And to find out the phase angle, you can apply the equation tan inverse y by x, right? So let us apply this and solve the numerical. So in the phasor notation, your E1 is 50 at 0 degree, E2 is 40 at 60 degree, and E3 is again 60 and minus 30 degree. How this phasor notation are done? The phasor notation are done with the equation only. See, let us see again the equation. E1 is equal to 50 sin omega t. So I have wrote E1 is equal to 50 and phase angle is equal to 0. While E2 is equal to phasor notation, it is 40 and the angle is phase angle is 60. Same way for E3, it is 60 and phase angle is again minus 30. Why I have wrote minus 30? Because in the equation it is 60 sin omega t minus 30, and as it is a minus sign is given, I have to write it minus sign in the phasor notation also. So this is nothing but it is a phasor notation of the 3 different voltage, right? You have to find out Ex and Ey, that is x component and y component. If you can find out x and y component, then you can find out the resultant EMF easily. So to find out the resultant EMF, you have to find out Ex and Ey. So Ex, if you want to find out, then you have to apply the cos component of the resultant EMF. So it will be 50 cos 0 plus 40 cos 60 plus 60 cos minus 30. See, whenever you are doing the resultant, you have to find out x and y component, and when you are finding the x component, you have to consider the cosine angle between the phase difference. When you are finding out the y component, you have to find out the sine component, right? So here it is 50 cos 0. So what is the value of cos 0? It is 1. So here you will get Ex is equal to 50 into 1, that is 50. What is the cos 60 value? It is 1/2, or you can say 0.5. What is the cos minus 30? It is 0.866, right? So your resultant voltage, it is 121.96 volt. See, this extra 2 digit are used for your accuracy only. If you can consider 121 or 122, then also your answer will be correct, or it will be more or less same. Now let us find out y component. So for the y component, same way you have to consider the sine angle of your EMF. So it is 50 sin 0 plus 40 sin 60 plus 60 sin minus 30. So by solving this, your answer will be 4.64 volt, right? Now let us find out the resultant of this Ex and Ey. So to find out the amplitude of the resultant voltage, you can apply the equation E is equal to under root Ex square plus Ey square. What is Ex square? It is 121.96, and what is Ey? It is 4.64 volt. So by these two, you will get resultant voltage is equal to 122 volt. So if you are doing the algebraic sum, your answer is 150. Mind well, it is wrong. You have to do the phasor notation, and then you can find out the resultant voltage from the given 3 quantities. Now in the question it is also asked that what is the phase angle of the resultant voltage. So how to find out the phase angle of the resultant voltage? You have to apply the phase angle of the resultant voltage equation, that is E is equal to tan inverse y component divided by x component. So what is your y component? It is 4.64, and what is your x component resultant? It is 121.96. So your degree of the resultant voltage or phase angle is 2.18. So finally you can write that resultant EMF is equal to 122 and phase angle is 2.18 degree, right? So this is the final answer of the question. Now the next question is, an inductive coil of resistance R and inductance L is to be connected in parallel with the capacitor of C. You have to derive the expression for the resultant frequency, and you have to define what is Q factor. Q factor means quality factor. Okay. So you can see that R and L is again a series connection. They are connected in parallel with a capacitor. So ultimately it is a RLC circuit, right? And in the RLC circuit, you have to derive the expression for the resonant frequency. But before derive the resonant frequency equation, you should be knowing what is a resonant condition. So resonant condition, we can say that when your XL is equal to XC. What is XL? XL is the inductive reactance, and what is XC? XC is a capacitive reactance. Generally they are 90 degree apart, right? But if they are same, the value of both are same, then there is a condition that is to be created. That condition is called the resonant condition. So at the time of resonant frequency, what is the frequency value? In the normal condition, the frequency value is 1 upon T, or omega is equal to 2 pi f. So from f is equal to omega divided by 2 pi, right? But in the resonant condition, what is to be happen? You have to derive with a equation. So let us see the circuit diagram. See, in the circuit diagram, you can see that a R and L is to be connected with a voltage source in parallel with a capacitor. So you can see that there are two branches, branch 1 and branch 2. In the branch 1, you can say that RL is to be connected, right? So L will create a inductive effect. That means in the inductive effect, what will be happen? Current will lag the voltage with a phi degree. While in the branch 2, you can see that the current will lead the voltage by 90 degree. Okay. So if you find out the resultant, then your resultant circuit will look like this. So in the resultant circuit, if you are putting the value, then your resultant current is equal to V divided by ZL into XL divided by ZL. So your IC becomes VXL divided by ZL. But what is the current that is flowing in the capacitor? It is not V divided by C, it is V divided by XC. So putting this in the earlier equation, you will get ZL square is equal to XL into XC. What is ZL? ZL is the impedance of your branch 1 impedance. So it is R square plus XL square. Or you can even consider that R is the internal resistance of your inductor. So you will get a relation R square plus XL square is equal to omega L into omega C. So R square plus omega square L square is equal to L by C. By comparing the two equations, you will get this relation. So in this equation, putting omega square L square as a main, you will get L by C minus R square. That is this put in right hand side. So your omega square is equal to 1 upon LC minus R square by L square. So you can define the resonant frequency by FR. So you can write down omega value, that is omega is equal to 2 pi into F, but F is put up FR. So your equation will become 1 upon LC minus R square divided by L square. Now what you can do? You can put this 2 pi over here and this LC in under root. So it will be FR is equal to 1 upon 2 pi under root 1 upon LC minus R square divided by L square. Again simplifying it, you will get that if your R is negligible, then neglecting the second term, let's say your internal resistance is very small and it is a plus sign, so it will be having a less effect in the value. So generally the equation of resultant resonant frequency is Fr is equal to 1 upon 2 pi under root LC. Now let us define Q factor. Q factor is nothing but it is a current magnification. So Q factor you can define that the current through the inductive branch divided by the resultant current. Now what is the current in the inductive branch? You can find out IL is equal to V divided by ZL. So it is V divided by under root R square plus omega square L square. So from the equation 1 you can say that R square plus omega square L square is equal to L by C. What is IL? IL you can write that is equal to V under root LC. So your resultant current will be I is equal to V divided by Z. What is the value of V? V value you can put as it is, and what is the value of Z? It is L by CR. So by substituting the value you will get your Q factor is equal to 1 over R under root LC. So this is the expression for the Q factor for a RL in series and C in parallel. So you can say that in the parallel circuit, the quality factor, if you want to find out, then you can apply the equation Q is equal to 1 upon R under root LC. It is similar to the resonant frequency. Fr is equal to 1 upon 2 pi under root LC. Here on behalf of 2 pi it is R because the resistance is to be considered, right? Now let us see the next question. In this question you are also given a two parallel circuit, right, and the two impedance are given. The two impedance are connected in parallel across a 100 volt 50 hertz AC supply. Impedance number 1, that is you can say Z1, is having, what is the Z? Z is under root R square plus reactive component, or you can say R is equal to J plus JXL or R minus JXC. So what is the value of R? Value of R is